Alright, so here's where we left off. We have the display connector to work on. The battery connector I've already worked on because this battery is still good. However, I might as well just replace it. So I've got a new battery for this watch. And on the motherboard, after working on these two connectors, we go ahead and just simply replace the battery flex cable with a new one instead of trying to salvage and fix the old one. Down inside here, I have this little connector that I salvaged that we need to put in this corner. I still need to work on this annoying flex cable just to make sure it works. It's annoying because it's just jammed in there and there's no getting it out. And there's the little connector that I need to put back. The speaker and the loudspeaker, given how rusted and damaged it looks, I'm also just going to replace it with a new one. The Taptic engine looks okay. And I thought that this had popped away from something, so I did get a new one, but after looking at it, there was no issue with it. So got a lot of work to do, as well as fix the connector here. It's got quite a bit of corrosion, but we'll do all of this under the microscope, and hopefully by the end, have a working watch. Let's get started. Alright, so before I accidentally lose this little connector, I'm going to solder back on because that's not something that's available for purchase. So I still have to work on this connector. Obviously, there's got quite a bit of corrosion. That connector, these connectors look okay. Need to clean this one. A little corrosion in there. I need to replace this flex cable. This is missing the connector. But in the meantime, let's see if we can't solder this guy back on real quick. We'll line it on up. I'm just going to tack each one of these legs real quick. And then I'll come in from the side and we'll flow in this side. Let's take a look at the underside of this. I think what we've got going on is some oxidized. Yep. Alright, the bottoms are oxidized. So I'm going to lower the temperature in my iron so that I don't melt the plastic. We're going to gently see if we can't scrape away the oxidation. So my iron's set at 200 right now. Flip this around. No wonder those pins weren't taking anything. Alright, I think we're ready now to accept some solder. So let's flip this guy back over and see if now we can float this in place. Got my temperature back up to 300. That side's secure the outside. Alright, now let's flow all of these pins. Make sure they're all making the good solid connections. And let's clean it up to see if we have any issues with that connector. It looks okay. I don't like that the solder hasn't really traveled up onto these 4 pins, so I'm gonna go in and touch those up one more time. There's solder there, but alright, I'm confident in that now. This connector is about the size of a short grain of rice. It's tiny. Alright, let's turn our attention to the difficult one, which is going to be this connector because of all of the corroded pads. This is for the speaker. Alright, I'm going to take a brand new number 11 razor blade. And this is going to be tricky because some of the pins there's actually very little metal left on them. But I need to scrape at the oxidized pads enough to, without damaging the pins, enough to accept some solder so we can get them to make contact. So like right here, you can see that if I scrape enough, I start to reveal the pad. I just barely touched the pin and it snapped. So I have to be very careful. This is probably fine. Like that's not moving. This one looks pretty bad. Like a lot of this will just clean up with some flux and a little bit of solder. These 4 are all attached. These 4 are all attached. With some flux and some solder, that oxidation could clean up. Let's add a little bit of flux with the iron and see if we can clean up those edge ones. Alright, let's clean up the area and see if we accomplished anything. Alright, we'll clean it out gently with a brush and get inside those pins. It's amazing how small we're working. These are the bristles of a toothbrush. Alright, it's hard to see, but there is some metal contact there between what's remaining of the pin. That one, although it's oxidized, looks good. Cleaned out that area. Now it's time to replace the battery connector. First thing we need to do is gently lift up this sticker. I'll gently peel off the sticker. When we go to line this back up, we'll have those two little windows here to line up with the little squares that we're going to find under there. And we'll add a little bit of flux. All right, and we'll take our iron, and I'm going to carefully, slowly peel up the flex while the iron melts the solder and lets the solder through the through holes so that I can peel it up. I'm not forcing it, I'm just letting the tension of the cable and then the iron do the job. You really want to take your time with this, otherwise you might accidentally pull some pads. Alright, and it's off. And if I have a torn connector in the future, but a good battery connector itself, technically I could reuse that flex. Alright, so got my solder pads down there nice and pillowed up to receive the new battery flex. We'll line up the new battery flex, and you can see the little gold square there that'll line up with the little crosshairs in the window. And we'll tack one side, make sure everything lines up in the other window. I need to move it up just a hair. Looks good. So we'll flow everything in place, pulling the solder through those holes using the flux that's already on the board, pushing down on the flex, making sure it goes all the way down to the board. And that flex is fixed. Go ahead and clean up the flux. Now if you absolutely destroyed the sticker, you can just use some Captain tape to protect it. We'll put that sticker back. And now we have a new connector and everything's ready for testing. So let's go put it back together and see if we have a working watch. Actually, before we do that, we need to look at this connector. It is nasty. Let's add some alcohol to the corner there. And this connector looks like it's splitting from the flex, so I'm going to have to fix that. I wonder if this comes out the housing. It looks like this solder joint. Actually, if I move it, it looks like I can free it. I'm actually going to try to extract this component because there's no way I'm going to be able to work on the connector from that angle. Alright, so I've got it clamped up in the vise there. Put some tension on the flex a little bit here, and boom. Yep, it came right up. Yeah, so it was just adhesive and that solder joint holding down the back, which is great. Let's flatten this out and take a look at this connector. Yeah, that needs some attention. So the back of this connector is metal, which means I can touch it with the iron and let the heat transfer through. So what I'm going to do is we'll clamp down on the flex so that it's exposed. Add a little bit of flux. Take the iron to the back. And we'll let the heat transfer through the flex up into the connector. And that way we'll clean some of the corrosion. Let's see if that was sufficient, because we might need to remove the connector itself. But that'll flow anything that is solderable back into place. Looks a lot better. Now let's see, how did the solder look? It's oxidized but intact. I'll still go in a little bit and touch up some of those pins. Alright, all of those pins look good. This grounding pad's probably important. I don't know for sure, but because it's so oxidized, I can tell it's not connected. So I'm just going to take the time to try to, yeah, I can see some movement there. I really want to make sure it's secured. That whole side is not making really good connection, so I think I have to make the decision to pull this guy off. That's what we'll do. With the iron on the back now, the tweezer's kind of gently pushing down. Let the heat transfer through, and eventually all of the solder will melt. It should let this connector come off. There it is. Make sure we don't lose it. Set it right there for a little bit so I can keep an eye on it. And now you can see we have several oxidized pads. That one we can clean up pretty well. So much easier to fix the oxidation without a connector in the way. We got these two pads that look pretty bad. Alright, now that those are looking a lot better, let's clean up the area. And then let's gently flip over. Let's see if we can tin the underside as well. They're looking a lot better now. Alright, let's spread out a little bit of flux over the area. It just went flying. I'm going to have to find that. I found it. am shocked that I found it. Took forever to find it. Oh man. All right, let's line this guy and let's take the iron and let's flow it in place. All right, I'm gonna go around the edge and carefully tack each one. That's better. It's not into perfect alignment. That's much better. Go down in and touch each one of the legs. And let's clean up the flux. All right, now we can solder this back in. We'll take the housing, put a little bit of flux down in on that point, line everything back up, and then we'll solder it back in place. All right, that's in there. Looking good. It'll take some time to clean up a bit of the corrosion and rust, and also the frame. We'll get rid of all of the old adhesive, prep it for a new seal. All right, so to recap everything we've done, we replaced the battery flex with a new one because of the damaged connector. We pulled, fixed, and resoldered this little connector for the antenna. We fixed the speaker connector, cleaned the other connectors as well. Down inside here, we fixed the adjacent connector there. There's still some surface corrosion and rust that I couldn't remove. That's more cosmetic than anything at this point. Due to the damage here, we're just not going to trust that old speaker. Besides, I think it's the failure point. So we'll replace with another one. And of course, due to the missing battery connector, we're going to simply replace the battery with a new one. All right, so we're going to put it back together now. Go ahead and connect up the wireless charging unit and gently push the board back down inside. Line back up the bracket, and we'll put back all the screws. Get it nice and tight. We'll put back the other side bracket. I'm going to carefully fold down the two connectors that we fixed. All right, now that that's clicked down, let's take a new speaker. We'll slide in the flex. All right, now we'll connect up the Taptic engine. But before we screw that down, let's get that speaker screwed in. All right, let's gently get everything back down. All right, we'll put back the little GPS antenna. All right, I don't know how, but I've misplaced the little Bluetooth flex cable. It was damaged anyway, but I thought I could repair the damaged part, but I'm missing that teeny tiny piece that goes on top of it. But in the meantime, we can still get this back together for testing. That's what I'm gonna do. Let's go ahead and reconnect up the flexes and put back the brackets and screws. So all we're missing to put back these screws is the Bluetooth flex cable. And let's see if my little jumper on the flex there that I had to run will get this working. We'll go ahead and connect back up the display that also had that work done on the pin. We'll slide in the connectors. All right, so well, let's the moment of truth to see if everything so far has been worth it. Let's go ahead and connect up our battery. Won't install it all the way just yet, but all right, so now that the battery is connected, I don't know if it has any power to it yet, like if it's a dead battery, but let's go ahead and click the power button. That's no life. So I tried it on the charger. We got nothing. We even pumped out the potentially issue-causing Taptic engine and disconnected the speaker because of the damage there. I think what's happening, and I could be wrong, is the damage to the flex, even though I tried to fix it with the jumper. Isn't sufficient, or there's an issue with this display because of the damage there. All right, so I've ruled out all of the other connectors, including the crown, power button. I am suspicious of the flex for the display here. Let me know in the comments below. At this point, would you give up or would you keep going? And what do you think it is? I'm gonna go peek under the microscope real quick, but at this, as my solder job here, maybe it popped loose or something. But otherwise, let me know what you think in the comments below. Should I do a part 3? See if we can figure it out. But at least I've shown in this video how to replace corroded components and even reuse them when unavailable like these ones. Thanks a ton for watching. We'll see you in the next video.